Welcome to Ignite Your Destiny. I am Jamie Marie, host of the show, and we are helping you ignite your destiny and find your purpose and live it every day, even when you're a busy mom. And I am so excited to introduce to you Dr. Tiffany Stewart. Dr. Tiffany, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
We are excited, and we've been having a little fun beforehand. We've had a little pre-party.
Yes, those are the best.
Talking about hair.
Yes.
So I am excited for you to be here. And will you share with our ladies a little bit about yourself and your work?
Absolutely. And I am thrilled to be here with you all and to share with everyone. So just a little bit about me. As you said, my name is Dr. Tiffanys Stewart, and I am a therapist, a licensed therapist. I am also an associate professor, tenured associate professor of counseling. I do a little bit of private practice also. So I wear a few different hats. I am a mother. And also, yes. But most of all, I am a coach. I don't necessarily like to consider myself like a life coach or anything, but I kind of consider it more of like a life strategist, just to help individuals just to figure it out sometimes, because we all kind of get stuck in life sometimes, and sometimes you just need to strategize it out with individuals. So like I said, I wear a number of different hats, but that's pretty much me in a nutshell.
I love it. You do. That was one thing that drew me to you, because of all the different hats you wear and being able to make that all work to fulfill your purpose and your destiny. Tell me about when you were a professor.
Oh my gosh. So I am currly.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you weren't anymore. I'm so sorry.
No, present tense. So yes, if that, as if I didn't have enough to do, right? So yes, I am still a professor, which is a very rewarding career, but it's also a very a taxing one also, Yeah, absolutely. So it takes a lot out of you. You have to put so much into it, but it's interesting. The world of academia is very, very interesting. And actually, the reason that I kind of veered off a little bit to the right to start helping individuals to strategize their lives, because sometimes, depending on who you are as an individual, I found that academia can be so restrictive, and I am just not a restrictive kind of girl. And so when I first became a professor, in the beginning stages as an assistant professor, I went in and I was in my early 30s, and I just was like, I was like the odd girl, like the oddball out, because most of the times when you think about professors, they kind of look like, well, in my mind, they were old white men.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love it.
But pretty much, well, Jamie, you'll find this out about me pretty soon. I'm a straight shooter, and
love it. Me
I
too.
just kind of say whatever. So
I love it. That's why we like each other.
yes, absolutely. So yes, academia is a bit restrictive, and it was a bit restricting for me. So I had to make it to where it was more comfortable for me. I wasn't feeling confined, just being underneath that umbrella of academia, and to really figure out how I could actually do this piece and be happy, but also help someone else figure out how they can do their lives and be happy as well. So that's really academia. I really, really have to credit to towards what I'm doing right now, right? I have to give it
Yeah.
the credit. I really do.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you say that. I wouldn't have put that together, but I just graduated to get my degree and did that with my kiddos and everything. And just today, actually, I was thinking, if I had not completed that, I don't know if I'd be in the situation that I'm in now, where I'm
Mhm.
actually, have that confidence and that boldness to run with this. So,
Mhm.
I mean, I've always been a doer, but I love that. And I like how you said you don't like to fit within those constraints, because
Right.
I'm
Right.
a creative too. And
Right.
I just
And
love
congratulations, by the way.
things.
Congratulations on it. Yeah,
Thanks.
absolutely.
Whew. I'm glad it's over.
I know it, right?
So if you do that and then you have your business, which one kind of ends up being the more releasing? I know, because with the college professor, it's probably very strict. With your business, do you feel it's that way as well?
No, I don't feel like my business is that way, which it really is relief for me. So in academia, it's kind of everything is robotic,
Right.
and everyone has to fit a certain mold. And I just was like, I don't like this.
Great.
I don't like it. I didn't like it. Like, I don't know if you've ever been in a room full of PhD academics, but it's like the most boringest thing. And I'm I'm sorry.
I think everybody watching can definitely connect with that. It's perfect. And if there's
but
any PhDs, we're sorry.
I'm sorry, but it
But you
was
are
just like,
too.
well, yeah, I am. I absolutely am. But it's just like what I was finding was that, everyone was trying to prove how smart they were
Hmm.
and how much smarter they were than you and how wrong you are about, every position that you have in life, as if that was their life's goal. And so I was feeling like pretty down on myself for a
Oh,
while, being in that environment. And I really started questioning, like, is this where I belong? Like, is this really, do I fit in here? Is this really for me? And I really didn't know if it was a place that I belonged. But on the flip side of that, it's like, well, you're here. You absolutely belong here. Like,
right,
how it's not a coincidence, because I don't believe in coincidences.
right.
And so it absolutely wasn't a fluke, and I spent much of my life thinking that somehow, once I succeeded at different things, that somehow they were flukes. Somehow somebody just let me slip in,
Mhm.
between the cracks. And then finally, I had to come to the realization that, this is not a fluke.
Right,
Um,
right,
you absolutely belong here. You are smart enough to be here. Like, you did the work. No
right.
one else did the work for you, and no one gave it to you. So, but my business is where I get to create, where I get to be the creative. And I didn't realize that I was a creative person until I started doing business, and entrepreneurship, because you have to have this grand vision. And for much of my life, I followed everyone else's vision, meaning that, I was checking off the boxes that
Yes.
society told me I needed to check off. And so that's a no-brainer to me. I can do that. It's kind of like one of those things that, well, don't go to jail because you're not supposed to go to jail. Well, I can
Right.
kind of stay out of jail. Like, that's a no-brainer,
Right.
right?
I got that one down.
Right, got that. Um, but so I can pretty much walk a straight line. But when I got on the other side doing the entrepreneur thing, um, that's when I started to recognize, I am creative. Only that my creative side is so much different than other people's. And it was the thing that made me different so often. And it was the thing that I ran away from because it set me apart from others. So I didn't want to tap into it because I didn't want to be different.
I love that. What do you
However, it's
feel
the
made you,
thing that makes me unique. So now I
right?
run towards it.
What do you feel like made you run away from it? Like, what would you say to the woman that maybe feels like she knows what she's made to do, but she is hitting that resistance and running from it?
I was scared. I was scared. I didn't want anyone, to look at me and think that I was crazy. Although most of my life people do think that I'm crazy. And I share this story with you, and so I'll share it with everyone else quickly about when I first became a mother, and just a prime example of this. When I first became a mother, let me see, I was pregnant when I was an undergrad, um, and I was married. So I didn't go straight to college from high school. I set out for a year and a half because I was finding myself. And then I decided to go to college, and that's a whole nother story in itself that we don't even have time for. Uh, how I even ended up there, just because I thought it was, a good thing to do,
Right.
because I was a party girl. But anyway, so I got married my last year in college. I got pregnant. And when I walked across the stage, I was pregnant with my daughter. And I had already applied to my master's program because I knew that I wanted to continue my education. So I graduated in May. My daughter was due in November. And I was scheduled to start grad school in August. So I decided to sit out in August so that I could have my baby in November. And I'm from New Orleans, Louisiana. So my master's program that I had gotten accepted into was in Minnesota. So it's, almost as far away that you can get, right? And I decided right after I had my daughter in January, she was only 2 months, that I was going to go to school. I was going to go back to school. And my mom, was like, "What is wrong with you? Like, what do you mean you're going to school? Like, you're a mother now. You need to not be doing that." And it was so weird to me that she would discourage me
Mhm.
from continuing to my education, and somehow as if my life had to end when my daughter's life began.
Yeah.
And it was just so odd. And I was like, "What do you mean? Like, I'm going to school? Like, I'm gonna pack her up and I'm gonna go to school?"
Right.
And they thought I was like, they meaning my family, they thought I was like just the craziest thing walking, and they were so upset with me because of that. And I could not understand it. So I went anyway. And thank God I did.
Yes. Yes.
And it happened again when I went to my PhD program. But from that experience, and not really wanting to be shunned anymore by my family, my close friends, and people around me, I really tried very, very hard to play it safe,
Mm-hmm.
to just play it safe, um, get the good job, get the benefits, you
Yes.
know, and even now, I mean, I did all of that. I have a pretty good setup, being a tenured professor. That's pretty much your university guarantees you a job for life.
Right.
So I have a pretty nice setup.
Right. And you broke that mold that was trying to be placed upon you as well. And I think that's so important.
Right.
We can
Right.
be completely discouraged to be ourselves, and we have to be able to really find that purpose inside of us to leap and take that step of faith. So I know you shared another story about 2005 being the catalyst that really shaped how you are today, as well as Hurricane Katrina. Can you share that story as well with the ladies?
Yes, absolutely. And actually, let me say this. It was actually it was prior to 2005. So there was something that was tugging on me for a few years prior to that. It was tugging on me, and it was kind of like it was like this still voice inside of my head. And it was, you need to move. You need to move, because I couldn't get ahead. I
Right.
couldn't get ahead no matter what I did. And I was getting into real estate. I had property. I had a master's degree. I kept losing my jobs. I had lost like about 5 jobs in 2 years. I just could not keep a job to save my soul. And it was terrible. And so I kept hearing this voice that was saying that I needed to leave, but I had left home a couple of times before, like I said, to go to school. And I just didn't want to leave again. I really didn't want to leave again. But everything that I was trying didn't work.
Right.
So every time I got a job, I lost the job. And it didn't matter. I tried to apply to a PhD program there. I didn't get in. It was every single thing that I tried, I failed at, no matter what. And I was trying really, really hard. And I was like, okay. Once I lost this last job, I was like, I'm going to apply out of state. I don't really care if I have to go to Canada. I'm going if I get in. So I applied to one program. Um, and they invited me for an on-campus interview. So I really didn't have the money because, like I said, I kept losing my job. So I didn't have money. And I was like, but I don't know if I'm going to get accepted to the program if I don't go in for an on-campus interview, because what I know about me now, which I didn't really know then, but you have to experience me. That's what I say. You have to experience me, not just meet me, but you have to experience me. And so because I knew that about myself, I didn't really know how to articulate it, but I knew that I needed to get there.
Mm-hmm.
So I found money, got there. Long story short, got accepted into the program. And I decided, okay, I'm going to go. So here I go, pack my baby up again. She is 4 at the time. And we hit the road. And got in school. I was there, got everything together, got her in school. It was 2 weeks to the day that Hurricane Katrina hit. And it wiped out all of my properties. And I was under the impression like I'm gonna have a good setup because I'm gonna have rent rolling in and we're gonna be fine and whatever. And all of that was wiped out. So now here it is. I was at school, far away from my entire family, me and my baby again. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what do I do now? Because even though I was losing my jobs, my head had gotten a little big because I had started to associate myself with, or my worth, it was attached to my property and all of the things that I was acquiring, my degrees, the property, the money that I was going to be making, all of these things. And that's really how I identified with things, not really myself. So now here it is. I'm here and it's just me. And it was like I was naked all of a sudden. because I had nothing and I knew no one and no one knew me. And the only thing that they knew was what was being presented on the news about New Orleans and Hurricane Katrina victims, refugees we were. And I was like, oh my gosh, who am I? And that was so painful. It's painful when you are faced with that question, who are you? And you are standing there and you're not able to attach to anything. I wasn't able to say, I'm the professor, I'm the doctor, I'm the licensed therapist, I'm the this, I'm the that. I was Tiffany.
Mm-hmm.
I was it.
I can't imagine.
And it was eye-opening for me. It really, really was eye-opening for me. And not only was it eye-opening for me, but it was really what's the word that I'm looking for? Not only the catalyst, but it really was a pillar for me to be able to stand in who I am. And so right now, I'm not really moved by money or things, even though I have an appreciation for nice things, Jamie. I'm just going to say to you, if you see me on Instagram and I'm flying somewhere or doing something, don't be like, oh, she said that she wasn't. I'm not even going to give you that impression, Jamie. Listen, I have an appreciation for nice things still. But when it's all said and done, I am still Tiffany. And I have to show up as that. And because I know all too well what it is to just be that and how quickly things can be taken from you.
Yes.
And so that's really, really important to me, to not only stand in who I am, but to help others to stand in who they are also, and just be them and being comfortable in their own skin.
I love that. It's so beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And I cannot even begin to fathom going through that experience and losing all of that.
Oh my gosh.
I can't imagine, but I can see how that would make you really look at yourself and almost go back and say, okay, well, what am I going to be remembered for? Who am I? So I just, wow. Look at me now. I'm like just stuck in that frame of mind. Oh, that was deep. That was good, girl.
Well, thank you.
Go, sister.
I tell you what, it was very uncomfortable to go through, so I'm so thankful that I am out of it. I came out, a stronger person.
Yeah. And do you feel like that was, I know you teach on leaping into your destiny and purpose. Do you feel that that was when that really happened? Or do you feel that that happened back prior, before, in the other story that you were sharing with us?
Well, it was during that time when I was in my PhD program. I had lost everything. I was trying to rebuild my homes from Ohio to Louisiana. I was paying people money to, do work on the house. They would take the money and they would never return. I would never see them again. So I lost out on at least $50,000, at least.
Wow.
$50,000 while I'm trying not to, fail out of my program. That was really one of the first things that my advisor asked me after it all happened. She was like, are you going to be able to stay in the program? It was almost as if they just immediately wrote me off. Oh, she's not going to be able to do this. And so just, and trying to be strong for my daughter also, and make sure that she's okay. And it was during that time when I considered myself to be somewhat of a control freak. I was a control freak because somehow I thought that I had control over so many things. And unfortunately, I found out the hard way. There are very few things that we have control over.
Yes.
Very, very few things that we have control over. And it was really during that time when I learned, I didn't have my acronym LEAP yet, but I was going through it.
Right.
And so that's really how I came up with it. And so my LEAP stands for let go expectations, accept possibilities. And that the let go part was the first piece of me having to let go of this control that, because I couldn't control so many things and it was driving me crazy. I was a wreck. I was a wreck, seriously,
Right.
because I couldn't control it. And I didn't know how to let go of the things that I couldn't control. And I didn't understand why things weren't going my way. And I couldn't understand why, if I was paying these people, why they wouldn't come back. And I couldn't understand why my life was a mess. And how did I get here? And I was just trying to do the right thing. And I didn't understand.
Right.
And, and the expectations part is because I had the expectation in my mind that once I started on this journey, this new journey that I had chosen, because remember, I told you I had this little still voice in my head for the past few years saying that I needed to leave. So I knew that that was the right thing for me to do, although I was like, okay, kind of like, all right, I did it now, like, come on now, everything should be all right.
Yeah.
No, it didn't say that
Yeah.
either. So the expectation in my head was that everything was going to be an easy road, and it wasn't. And so once I learned how to let go of those expectations and just really accept that things were the way that they were, it didn't make them right, wrong, or indifferent. It just was. But on the other side of that were so many other possibilities that I never even had the bandwidth to even think of. It was so many other possibilities on the side of that. So that's where my LEAP acronym comes from, because it's so rewarding and relieving once you get on the other side of that.
Yes. And I think that's an absolutely powerful mindset shift to be able to go into. Start even every morning that way, with, okay, what do I need to let go of today? And I found for myself, because I'm kind of like you, like I'm a control person. And especially here recently, it's just like, no, whatever's supposed to happen is going to happen. And I also, I don't know if you agree or if you see the same thing with some of the people that you work with, but I really feel like when we step out in that and we do let go, that it's almost like we get challenged immediately, and sometimes those challenges are very, very tough, like what you experienced. And I feel like, we need to bring that to the table, that you have to almost go into it with that expectation somewhat too, that, okay, it might get rough. The water's going to get rough.
Right.
You're going to be okay. Just let go.
Right. Absolutely. And I'm still alive, and you will be also.
She's got gorgeous hair.
Yes.
So what would you say to the woman? I was going to ask you something completely different, but now I almost feel like, what would you say to the woman that doesn't even realize that she has that grit and that determination inside of her, that she can operate and flow in those still small voices that she hears, but she has to just leap?
Right. You just really have to leap. And so the one thing that I always ask of my clients is, what's the worst case scenario? What's the worst thing that can happen? And for me, if it's not death, it's worth you doing it.
Yeah.
It's worth you doing it. It absolutely is worth you doing it. Now, you may get a little uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
I'm never going to tell you that it's going to be comfortable, because it's not. It's not going to be comfortable. Anything that I have done that has been worthwhile has not been comfortable, and it has not been easy. Being a mother, this has been the hardest job ever.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, ever. Just being a mother, so when you think of it, and in those terms of being a mother, like, you never want to give up on your child or that relationship. It's the same thing with your purpose and your goals in life. Those are things that you don't want to give up on, but they are worth fighting for. So that's why I say, if the worst case scenario is that you're not gonna die, it's worth you doing it.
Right.
Just leap.
Yeah, just leap. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
So let's shift. I know you've shared a lot of your story and your why, but share with me how you really brought it all together. Like, you said you took those leaps of faith and you stepped out and you wanted to be creative. How did you just mend it all together and make it exactly what it is today?
Oh my gosh. I stumbled and I fell and I cried and I prayed and I journaled, and it was just it was interesting. Let's see. So this is a book that I got. This is my journal. Can you read it?
Love it.
It has Steve Jobs quote on it: "The only way to do great work is to love what you do."
Yes.
So I got this journal, and the first entry is Saturday, March 8th, 2014. You can't see. And so during this time, I was struggling with, okay, now what? I was a professor now. I had earned tenure. And I was like, well, so what now? Because I'm not happy. I'm not happy. And I felt really bad. I felt really, really bad, because I know people who wish that they were in this position that I'm in. And I was not happy. And I didn't know why. I didn't know why. And so I just started journaling, like, what is this? What is going on with me? Because I didn't know how to articulate it. I just knew that I wasn't feeling all warm and fuzzy
Right.
on the inside. And so I remember going through this this was March, and my daughter and I were going on spring break the following year. We were going to Hawaii. And so we were on the plane, and we were on this big aircraft. I don't know what you call them, the big ones, they have the 3 rows. So we were in the middle. So I'm on the end, it's my daughter, and there's a man on this side, on the other end. And so there's a lady in front of him, and she asks him, well, my daughter is sitting up there and we want to all sit together. Would you mind switching seats with her? And he says, okay, sure. So she comes to sit down and she strikes up a conversation. And I'm not much of a conversationalist when I'm on a plane. I just kind of want to do me. I had my journal with me, and I'm just trying to figure out my life. So
Got
she
it.
asked me,
Plan for that plane ride.
right. So she asked me, like, so what do you do? So I told her what I did. And, at this time, I'm kind of not even proud. Like, I'm just a professor. And I said, but, I'm trying to figure out, what I want to do with my life. And she was like, that's actually what I do. I teach people how to figure out what their mission and purpose is. And I was like, what? I was like, that's a God thing. That's a God thing. Because here it is. We had like a 6 or 7 hour plane ride. And she was like, let's do it. We got time. So we got to work then. And that really, that was the beginning of me going this route, into really stepping into what I felt my purpose was. And it really was, or is, to help other individuals step into what's going to make them happy, because I get such gratitude out of seeing the light bulbs come on for other people and seeing them take that and just run and be happy in their lives. I am so, so disappointed every time I have a client to come into me for counseling in private practice with depression, with anxiety, with eating disorders, with all of this going on in their lives, like things that they can really take a hold of. And I am just like, this is what I want you to do, but I can't do this. I can't do that in counseling.
Right. That's why I
Right?
wasn't sure if I should get my master's, because I'm like, I like to say what to do.
Right. So for me to be able to do it in this way, like I'm a life strategist. I can coach you on how to do this, aka I can tell you what to do. Um,
Right.
just do this and you're gonna be fine.
Right.
And so that's just kind of how I ended up on this path right now. But it was a lot of bumps and bruises, and I mean that I had to go through first, and just really, really, tears and a lot of prayer, just really trying to figure out what it was, because I really just didn't even know how to figure it out for myself at first.
Right. Right. And I think you also mentioned something that so many women probably resonate with, because I know lots of people that I've worked with do have, so much, how do you put that? So many things in their life that the world and the society sees as success, but they're not gratified internally.
Right.
And I think that is so important. And I'm so grateful that you brought that up and that you mentioned that, because I think that internal satisfaction is going to be where we're going to actually find that confidence and not
Right.
need to find something new to do,
Right. Absolutely. So once you find that and you start working in your purpose, then nothing else really, really matters, right? Like, I'm just like, I don't really even care. Like, I'm glad I got fired from them jobs. Like, like the last lady that fired me in Louisiana, when I made the decision to go to the PhD program in Ohio, I actually sent her an email a few years ago thanking her
I
for
love
firing me. And, I was like, I was not happy at the time, but I do know for certain, had it not been for that firing, I would not have had the confidence to really go after what my real path was.
Yes.
And so I had to tell her that, like, thank you for firing me.
Yeah, I love it. And I just got to be nosy. Did she reply?
She did.
Oh,
She
wow.
did. And she was like, oh, how cool is that? Thank you so much. Thank you for so much. She probably thought I was the biggest jerk at the time, but she did respond.
I'm sure they don't get thank you for firing me letters very often.
I know it.
But I love that you were able to recognize that and then, speak that into her as well. So,
Yeah.
yeah, this is like, I could sit here and talk to you all night long. I think that's why I connect so well with you, because your story is just so powerful and the world needs to hear it. I mean,
Yeah.
that's ultimately what I felt the minute I found you. I'm like, the world has to hear her story. It's
Thank
just
you.
so powerful.
Thank you.
So if the ladies want to find you or find your work, where should they come look for you?
So my website is www.tiffanysstewartphd.com. And actually on there is a free workbook that I offer to everyone who drops by, just to really help you. I created it to help you figure out what it is that you really truly want in life. And the reason why I created that was because when I was going through this painful experience, it's what I needed. It's what I needed to figure out what I really wanted in life. And I believe that you can create whatever it is that you want in your life, but first you have to know what it is that you want to create. And so that's what my Take the Leap workbook helps you to do. So it's a free resource. It's on my website again, Tiffanys Stewart, PhD.com. And you can find me on social media, Dr. Tiffany Stewart on Facebook, and at Dr. Tiff PhD on Twitter and Instagram.
Awesome. And so you guys have to go run and download this. So we're going to also put the links down below. So you guys definitely go check out that LEAP workbook. Go find Dr. Tiffany, and we know she likes those pretty things. So we're going to have to do stories.
Yes.
So, well, I thank you so much for joining us. And is there anything, I should ask you that first, is there anything else you feel like the women want to or need to hear?
You know what? The only thing, because I feel like I've talked too much.
No.
The only thing that I will leave you with is we are all so much stronger than what we know. So much stronger than what we know, and all you have to do is put one foot in front of the other every day to try to make whatever it is that you want happen, and it will happen.
I love it. It will. So powerful. Thank you for ending with that. I'm so glad you did. Oh, this has been so powerful.
Yes.
I feel the same way, but I don't want to stop. So awesome. Well, we will conclude with that. And Dr. Tiffany, thank you so much for joining us. It was such a pleasure.
Thank you so much for having me again. It absolutely was a pleasure, and I absolutely enjoyed chatting with you today.
Awesome. All right, ladies, we have ignited you. So definitely start to step out and fulfill that purpose. We'll see you soon.
Bye.